The global trade landscape is shifting, and with it, the dynamics of international commerce are undergoing a significant transformation. Countries are reevaluating their trade partnerships and supply chain dependencies in response to geopolitical tensions and economic uncertainties. Canada is positioning itself as a key player in this new era, leveraging its economic strengths and strategic advantages to carve out a prominent role in the evolving trade order. It aims to become the United States' primary supplier for critical resources, a move that could redefine the economic relationship between the two neighboring countries. This bold move comes as the U.S. seeks to reduce its dependence on China, driven by the ongoing trade war and the need for supply chain diversification to ensure economic stability. The initiative signals a potential realignment of global supply chains, with North America emerging as a more self-reliant and interconnected economic bloc. It also underscores the growing geopolitical rivalry between the U.S. and China, highlighting the strategic importance of securing reliable trade partners. Canada's strategic geographic location and abundant natural resources give it an advantage in this new trade landscape. Its vast reserves of oil, natural gas, and minerals are crucial for industrial production and energy security. It shares a long border with the U.S. and enjoys a stable political relationship, which facilitates seamless trade and economic cooperation. Canada is a major producer of oil, natural gas, and minerals, all of which are essential for the U.S. economy, particularly in sectors such as manufacturing, energy, and technology. These resources are vital for maintaining the competitiveness and growth of U.S. industrial sectors, ensuring a steady supply of raw materials for production. The Canadian government is actively promoting its resources to American businesses, emphasizing the benefits of a reliable and proximate supply chain. It is highlighting Canada's reliability and shared values with the U.S., fostering a sense of trust and mutual benefit in the trade relationship. This push for closer economic ties extends beyond the federal level, with provincial governments also playing a crucial role in strengthening cross-border trade. Canadian provincial premiers have been actively engaging with U.S. officials, showcasing the potential for increased trade and investment between their provinces and U.S. states. They are showcasing the potential for increased trade and investment between their provinces and U.S. states, highlighting opportunities for economic collaboration and growth. This multi-pronged approach reflects Canada's determination to seize the opportunity presented by the changing global trade dynamics, positioning itself as a key partner for the U.S. It also highlights the importance of the U.S. market for the Canadian economy, as increased trade with the U.S. could drive significant economic growth and job creation in Canada. The potential benefits of this shift are significant for both countries, promising enhanced economic stability and prosperity through strengthened trade ties. The U.S. could reduce its reliance on a geopolitical rival for essential goods, thereby enhancing its economic security and resilience. Canada could benefit from increased exports and economic growth, driven by a more robust and diversified trade relationship with the U.S. However, there are also challenges to overcome, including protectionist sentiments in the U.S. that could hinder the free flow of trade. These include protectionist sentiments in the U.S. and the potential for retaliation from China, which could complicate the trade dynamics and introduce new risks. The success of Canada's strategy will depend on its ability to navigate these complex geopolitical and economic realities, requiring careful planning and strategic foresight to ensure long-term benefits. Canadian provincial premiers are taking an active role in strengthening economic ties with the United States. They recognize the importance of the U.S. market for their province's prosperity. Recent months have seen a flurry of diplomatic missions to Washington. Premiers from across Canada have met with U.S. lawmakers, business leaders, and administration officials. These meetings have focused on showcasing the potential for increased trade and investment. Premiers have highlighted their province's strengths in key sectors. These include energy, mining, technology, and manufacturing. They have emphasized Canada's reputation as a reliable and responsible trading partner. The message from the premiers has been clear. Canada is open for business. They are seeking to capitalize on the growing desire in the U.S. to diversify supply chains. This proactive approach is a testament to the importance of the U.S.-Canada economic relationship. It also underscores the eagerness of Canadian provinces to attract investment and create jobs. The diplomatic efforts of the premiers have been well received in Washington. U.S. officials have expressed a willingness to explore opportunities for closer economic cooperation. The Biden administration has emphasized the importance of strengthening ties with allies like Canada. These engagements are laying the groundwork for a potential deepening of the economic partnership between the two countries. The United States is increasingly looking to reduce its dependence on China for critical goods and resources. This shift, often referred to as de-risking, is not just a fleeting trend but a strategic pivot that could reshape global trade dynamics for years to come. This de-risking strategy is driven by several factors, each contributing to a growing sense of urgency among policymakers and business leaders alike. These include concerns about supply chain vulnerabilities, national security risks, and human rights abuses. The interconnected nature of today's global economy means that disruptions in one part of the world can have far-reaching consequences. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed the fragility of global supply chains. Empty supermarket shelves and delayed shipments became a stark reminder of the risks involved in relying too heavily on a single source for essential goods. It highlighted the risks of relying heavily on a single country for essential goods. The congestion at ports and the backlog of shipments underscored the need for a more diversified and resilient supply chain. China's growing assertiveness on the world stage has also raised concerns in Washington. The Chinese government's actions, from military parades to diplomatic maneuvers, signal a nation that is increasingly willing to flex its muscles. The US government is wary of becoming overly reliant on a geopolitical competitor. This wariness is not just about economic competition, but also about the broader implications for national security and global stability. It fears that China could use its economic leverage for political gain. The intertwining of economic and political interests means that trade relationships are never just about commerce, they are also about power and influence. Furthermore, there is growing bipartisan concern in the US about China's human rights record. This concern transcends party lines, reflecting a shared belief that human rights should be a cornerstone of US foreign policy. These concerns center on issues like the treatment of Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang and the crackdown on pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong. The images of protests and reports of human rights abuses have galvanized public opinion and put pressure on policymakers to act. The Biden administration has pledged to prioritize human rights in its foreign policy. This commitment is reflected in various policy statements and actions aimed at holding violators accountable. This includes taking a tougher stance on trade with countries that violate human rights. By aligning trade policy with human rights values, the US aims to set a global standard and encourage other nations to follow suit. These factors have converged to create a strong impetus for the US to diversify its supply chains. Diversification is seen as a way to mitigate risks, enhance resilience, and ensure a steady flow of essential goods. Canada, with its abundant resources, stable political system, and shared values with the US, presents an attractive alternative to China. The close geographical proximity and long-standing trade relationships make Canada a natural partner in this de-risking strategy. The potential benefits of reducing dependence on China are significant for the US. Enhanced national security, improved supply chain resilience, and alignment of trade policy with core values are just a few of the advantages. It would enhance national security, improve supply chain resilience, and align US trade policy with its values. By taking these steps, the US aims to build a more secure and sustainable economic future, less vulnerable to external shocks and geopolitical tensions. Protectionist sentiments within the United States pose a significant challenge to Canada's ambitions. These sentiments are deeply rooted in the American psyche, often fueled by economic uncertainties and the desire to safeguard domestic industries. While there is a growing desire to reduce reliance on China, there is also a strong protectionist streak in American politics. This duality creates a complex landscape for international trade, where the push for self-reliance clashes with the benefits of global supply chains. This is particularly true in sectors like manufacturing and agriculture, where competition from imports is often seen as a threat to American jobs. The fear of losing livelihoods to cheaper foreign labor drives much of the protectionist rhetoric. The Buy American rhetoric that has gained traction in recent years reflects this protectionist sentiment. It is a call to prioritize American-made products, often at the expense of international trade relationships. It resonates with workers who fear losing their jobs to foreign competition. These workers see protectionist policies as a safeguard against the uncertainties of a globalized economy. This sentiment can translate into pressure on policymakers to implement protectionist measures. Politicians eager to secure votes may find themselves advocating for tariffs and trade barriers, These measures include tariffs, quotas, and other trade barriers that can make it more difficult for Canadian goods to compete in the U.S. market. Such barriers can disrupt the flow of goods and strain economic ties between the two nations. The Biden administration faces a delicate balancing act. It must navigate the fine line between promoting domestic manufacturing and maintaining healthy trade relationships with allies. It seeks to promote domestic manufacturing and create jobs while also strengthening ties with allies like Canada. This requires a nuanced approach to policymaking, one that considers both domestic and international implications. Protectionist policies, while appealing to certain segments of the electorate, could undermine efforts to diversify supply chains and reduce dependence on China. The challenge lies in balancing these competing interests to achieve a sustainable economic strategy. Canada's success in becoming a key supplier to the U.S. will depend in part on the ability of the Biden administration to manage these protectionist pressures. Effective diplomacy and strategic economic policies will be crucial in navigating this complex terrain. It will require convincing American businesses and consumers that closer economic ties with Canada are in their best interests. This involves highlighting the mutual benefits of trade and the potential for economic growth on both sides. It also necessitates demonstrating that Canadian imports will not come at the expense of American jobs. Building trust and fostering collaboration between the two nations will be key to overcoming protectionist barriers and achieving a balanced trade relationship.